Mr. Allen and Mr. Yardley, thank you very much for coming in to talk with us today. Pleased to have you with us. Mr. Allen is in Houston, Mr. Yardley in St. Louis. Here with us are George Will of ABC News and Sam Donaldson, ABC News White House correspondent. Now, a question for both of you. Mr. Allen first, for no particular reason. From what you have heard from the investigation so far and from your own knowledge and your own background and experience, what is your best estimate at this time of what went wrong? Mr. Allen?
Mr. Brinkley, I don't as yet know what went wrong. I'm anxiously awaiting the final report of the commission, a report that I know will be given to the President, the Congress, and made public, and I'm awaiting a final report from Dick Truly within NASA, who is newly named to look at the same problem, and then we'll know.
Mr. Yardley, what are your thoughts on this at this time?
I agree with Joe, although there's very strong evidence that something went wrong with the seal on the solid motor. However, that could be many things, and it's not necessarily this temperature problem, although that could be.
Well, let me ask this question here, because I've been wondering about it. If O-rings and the seals and so on are and perhaps have been a problem, why can't those sections be welded together and eliminate this problem altogether? Mr. Allen, why? Do you know?
John, that sounds like a question for you.
Thanks, Joe. Well, of
Is there
course,
any technical reason why that can't be done?
you'd have to weld them at the Cape
Right.
with live propellant in it, which sounds like a very dangerous operation. Plus, that would mean throwing them away, because in order to ship them back to Thiokol to be reused, you have to take it apart. You just can't ship those rockets in a total length.
Mr. Yardley, without going on more into the technicalities of O-rings and all the rest, what has struck a number of people listening to the hearings is that the failure was less technical than managerial or even political. As you've listened this week, have you been startled by what you've heard about who gets listened to and who knew what when and who didn't tell what to whom?
That's a difficult question because I haven't heard the questions asked that I would ask.
What is that?
Let me explain that. I wouldn't be asking who said what to who. I'd be asking, could it have been the temperature? What do we know about those joints? I understand it's been 4 years since the first sign of distress. If NASA is doing the normal thing NASA does, they would have analyzed, tested, and had a whole set of criterion for what is an acceptable joint. Those criterion would have been translated into launch, go, no-go conditions. Now, if that happened and the particular criterion that had been debated and settled on was still being met, then I can understand why they felt no need to carry that decision on up.
But clearly, criteria were used, held up against this launch, and a number of people in a position to know said, do not launch. And the question is, why did they go ahead?
Well, the official launch rules probably didn't have anything in it that would prevent this launch. Because if they wanted to deviate on an official launch rule, they would have to take it right up to the top.
Mr. Allen, let's pursue that for a moment. We already have the testimony from the engineers at Morton Thiokol that they unanimously, at their level, thought that this launch might be unsafe and recommended that it not be held. We have the testimony from people at another contractor who said they could not guarantee the safety of the launch from another standpoint, the ice on the potential problem there. Why, in goodness' name, would anyone then at that point not carry it forward to the very top people who made the decision?
Mr. Donaldson, that's, of course, what we don't yet know and what I'm sure will come out of the hearings and the commission findings. I agree very much with what John Yardley has said. The question is really not so much about the people that were placed in this very difficult position of deciding, but the rules they were given to abide by, and why those apparently were not a little bit more specific following what are apparently known problems with the O-rings.
Well, let me just pursue that. Chairman Rogers tried to answer that question in a sense by talking about common sense. He asked them, it appeared to him that taking leave of their common sense. You're not telling me that when you rode the shuttle as an astronaut, you would like to have believed that people didn't use their best judgment and common sense and merely said to you, well, we followed a checklist of rules. That's not sensible, is it?
Absolutely not, and I did believe that people had used common sense. I had 100% faith in that. I will say that it is extraordinarily difficult, though, to legislate common sense. We see examples of that every day, and difficult to write rules that guarantee that.
Mr. Yardley, what about that question? What about the common sense of people who make these decisions as opposed to just falling back on the idea that, well, we followed the checklist?
Sam, the decision should have been made a year ago or 6 months ago, and probably was. Now, somebody may disagree with that decision. I don't know. But to try to change the rules on launch night is very unusual. And if somebody's doing it in the opposite direction, certainly you wouldn't want to do it just because of common sense.
But I just don't think that although you've addressed it, that you've gotten certainly through to me on the question of why, if two contractors, the engineers of one, the officials of the other, were saying they could not guarantee the safety of this, and in the case of Morton Thiokol, were warning it could be unsafe, why there is a checklist that exists that allows people to make a decision to launch.
Well, all I can assume is that the Thiokol people either had not been able to prevail when the launch rules were prepared, or had not brought up the temperature in the launch rules conference to set those conditions. Because coming up, there was certainly no new data. The fact that this was a cold day, NASA knows you're going to have cold days. They should have rules to cover all of those days. So it's unusual to bring that up if you didn't sell a rule on it 6 months ago or a year ago. It's been 4 years that they've been wrestling with this.
But Mr. Yardley, clearly the evidence is that there was a tremendous pressure felt, managerial or political, call it what you will, to get this shuttle up, as when the NASA man said, when do you want me to launch this? Do you want me to wait till April? Now, isn't that the problem when you have all kinds of engineers with technical expertise saying, don't risk it, and someone says, I can't stand the delay? Wasn't that the problem?
Mr. Well,
so.
if I could,
Sure.
John, I'll interrupt. NASA is an agency that grew up with pressure. It has demonstrated successfully time after time it can live with pressure. I object a little bit to placing blame on pressure because it's an agency that can handle pressure.
The question is not whether it can take the pressure of putting together a scientifically complicated enterprise under pressure, but does it feel budgetary pressure? The shuttle is behind schedule. Graham Rudman and all the rest is bearing down on the space agency. Is it not possible that political managerial calculations entered in here?
I guess it certainly is possible, and an ultimate decision on the part of the Commission should reveal that. I think it's very premature to make an interim judgment right now.
Mr. Allen and Mr. Yardley, thank you. Thank you very much for
yes,
coming
sir.
in today. Been pleased to hear your views.